And to take this story further, we are now being joined by Bishop Garrison from Virginia, United States. He is the former senior advisor to the Secretary of Defense. Welcome to the broadcast, Mr. Garrison.
Thank you for having me.
Now, Russia launched one of its deadliest strikes on Ukraine since the war began. Has Kiev miscalculated its war strategy?
I don't believe it. I don't believe that to be the case, and I think many of my colleagues would tend to agree. What we've seen from Ukraine is a lot of impactful strategy and operations here in the past weeks and months, particularly when you talk about Kursk. When you see that they were able to take on nearly 500 square miles and approximately 100 settlements over from the Russians, as well as almost 600 total prisoners. This was a surprise to many commentators, to include Vladimir Putin himself. So what I think you're seeing now is Russia making an effort to kind of turn the tides on this a little bit, both from an optics perspective and from an operational perspective, as they look to push in other areas and see where else they can pick up the pace a bit, since their own offensive operations have stalled elsewhere.
Right, Mr. Garrison, speaking of Russia, at a time when the war is worsening, President Vladimir Putin is in Mongolia, where he faces an arrest warrant for the same war. What do you make of this posturing?
Well, I think it's exactly that. It's posturing by a dictator that sees himself in a position in which he needs to reestablish and steady his own optics with his own base and with his own partners across the world, particularly. Mongolia is a safe place for him to go to. They have a land border directly with Russia. They have very, very close ties with China and a land border there as well. He knows that there's not going to be a major move to try to arrest him or take him into custody. So this is an opportunity for him to kind of flex muscles, so to speak, in this regard, and show geopolitically that he is still very much in charge, or at least to make an attempt at displaying that. At the same time, as we've already mentioned, he's dealing with a lot of upheaval on the war front, and this is an opportunity for him to try to steady his foundation a bit under his feet.
All right. Now, the West has shown time and again that there is no red line when it comes to Ukraine. So as things stand at the moment, at least, do you think it is convinced enough to send long-range cruise missiles that will reach deep into Russia?
Well, reports indicate that exact discussion is underway right now. We know that we've seen in previous Russian engagements with Ukraine that the United States particularly was willing, at least as it related to the land battle early on, to allow Ukraine some limited use of its weaponry right along the border with Russia earlier in the summer. However, when you talk about something like long-range cruise missiles, that have up to 300 kilometers or roughly 187 mile range, that's slightly different. That's going to take you much deeper into Russian territory, and it creates an entire new group of policy and operational concerns, particularly when you talk about what civilians might look like. You look at second and third tier effects in terms of our engagement within the war itself and what we operationally would be supporting Ukraine with at that point. There's a much larger discussion that has to happen around the use of that type of technology. And from what we've gathered, that's exactly what is taking place right now. It still remains to be seen whether or not this is a step the United States is willing to take. But the fact that the government is at a point in which they're at least discussing it should show many how serious and dedicated they are to the continued survival of Ukraine as people.
All right, Mr. Bishop Garrison, thank you so much for joining us here in WION and getting us your insights.
Thank you again.
For all the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.